Ever get this feeling like maybe the places we consider sacred, like they haven't always been seen that way?
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today, looking right at the heart of Islam, Mecca, and Medina. We're going deep into a book called The Noon, Zion, Baca, Jerusalem by this Dr. Khalid Walid. And let me tell you, he makes a pretty bold claim right off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says the true locations of Mecca and Medina, they're not where we think they are.
Really?
No kidding. Now, before you go grabbing a map and redrawing everything, hold on. We're not here to say he's right or wrong.
Right.
Okay? Our goal is to understand his perspective, how he uses interpretations, from the Quran and even the Bible. Yeah, it's all about understanding a different perspective, maybe even making us question some of our own assumptions. So Dr. Walid, he starts with this whole idea of interpretation in the Quran, talking about a difference between verses. He uses Surah Al-Imran 3.7 to talk about precise verses and these allegorical verses.
Yeah.
Almost like there's a code within the text itself. What do you make of this distinction? Why is it so important to his argument?
Well, it's fascinating, right? He's basically saying not all verses carry the same weight. You've got your clear, straightforward verses. He calls them mukam. These are foundations of Islam, the 5 pillars, that sort of thing.
Right, the essential.
Exactly. Not much room for debate there. But then you have the mutashabah, the allegorical verses. These are more like poetic, filled with metaphors, symbolism. They need a deeper understanding of context, history, language to really unlock them.
I see. So there's more room for interpretation with these.
Exactly. And that's where it gets really interesting, because who's to say which interpretation is right?
So some verses are like a straightforward rule book and others are more open-ended, like poetry.
Precisely. And get this, he even compares it to the Bible.
Really?
Yeah. Deuteronomy 29.29 talks about secret things belonging to God and revealed things for everyone else.
So both texts kind of acknowledge there's different levels of meaning, some for everyone, some, well, maybe for a select few.
You got it. And that's where things get really interesting. Who gets to interpret those deeper meanings? And what happens when those interpretations clash?
Okay, so how does Dr. Walid handle those potential clashes?
Well, he actually visualizes it like a pyramid.
The pyramid.
Yeah, 3 levels. At the top, you've got mukam, the decisive, the clear stuff.
Okay, makes sense.
Then in the middle, you have mutashabah, the ambiguous, allegorical stuff.
Right, the stuff that's open to interpretation.
Right. And then at the bottom, there's halal, which he says is permissible, open to interpretation in like a broader sense.
So it's not just types of verses, it's like a map of how we understand our faith.
Exactly. And he connects this to the whole idea of light, misguidance, and darkness. He's saying those who, reject the true message, they get trapped in the mutashabah, that middle ground.
So they're stuck in between, never getting the full picture.
Right. And this is where he starts building his big argument, that the real, true, holy city, the heart of Islam, isn't Mecca, but a place he calls Baca, Jerusalem.
He's saying our understanding of where these cities are, it might be based on misinterpretations of these allegorical verses.
Exactly. It's a bold claim. And it all stems from this idea of different levels of meaning within the Quran.
Okay, so we're starting to see how Dr. Walid connects these different levels of interpretation to this whole Baca, Jerusalem idea. But where's the actual location? How does he pinpoint it? What evidence does he use?
Well, he points to a bunch of verses in the Quran, but there's one that's super important. It's from Surah Al-Balad 90.1-3.
Okay, and what does it say?
It starts with Allah swearing by this city. Now, most people say this refers to Mecca.
Right, that's the traditional understanding.
Exactly. But Dr. Walid, he says, no, it's talking about Baca, Jerusalem.
Wow, okay. So how does he back that up?
He points to the very next line, which talks about being free of restriction in this city.
Right, and you are free of restriction in this city.
Yeah, that phrase is crucial for him. He says it refers to a specific time in the Prophet Muhammad's life, maybe where he was granted some kind of freedom or protection in Baca, Jerusalem.
Interesting. So he's connecting these interpretations to actual events in the Prophet's life.
Right. He even links it to the conquest of Jerusalem, suggesting that maybe the Prophet could enter the city peacefully without any problems.
So it's like he's building this case piece by piece, using the Quran, historical events, tying it all together.
Exactly. And he doesn't stop there. He brings in the Bible, too.
Oh, really? What part?
He looks at Psalm 132.1314. It talks about Zion, which he says is the same as Baca, Jerusalem, being God's chosen dwelling place.
I see. So he's drawing parallels between, Islamic and biblical traditions to make his case.
That's it. And he's saying that these texts, when you read them together in this specific way, they reveal this like hidden history.
Like a connection between faiths that maybe we've lost sight of.
Exactly. But it's not just about the location. He also talks about the spiritual significance of Baca, Jerusalem. And that's where the whole noon thing comes in.
Yeah, the noon in the title. I was wondering about that. How does that fit in?
This is where it gets even more interesting. He goes to Surah Al-Qalam 68.1. It says noon by the pen and what they inscribe. Now, that letter noon, it's usually seen symbolically,
Right.
but Dr. Walid, he takes it literally. He says noon is Baca, Jerusalem, straight up. He sees it as this city of knowledge, enlightenment.
Hold on. A single letter is a key piece of evidence. That's a pretty bold claim.
It is, but it all comes down to this idea that the Quran has hidden depths. He connects noon to the qalam, which means pen, and interprets that as like a symbol of knowledge, revelation.
Because the pen is mightier than the sword, knowledge is power, that kind of thing.
Exactly. He even points to Psalm 45.1 in the Bible, where it compares the tongue to a writer's pen.
So it's like he's saying that the importance of language, of the written word, is something that connects these different faiths.
Exactly. And it all comes back to Baca, Jerusalem, not just as a holy place, but also a center of learning. And this is where his interpretation of Abraham comes into play.
Right, because it's not just the location of the cities he's reinterpreting, but the whole story of Abraham's journey.
Exactly. He talks about the verses where Abraham is given a sacred house.
Which is usually understood to be in Mecca, right?
Right. But Dr. Walid says, no, it's in Baca, Jerusalem. And that's not all.
There's more.
He actually says that Mecca was forbidden to Abraham.
Forbidden? Why?
Because of the idolatry of the people there at the time. He even uses the phrase Gog and Magog to describe those who are blocking the way to the true holy sites.
Gog and Magog, that's a term from both the Quran and the Bible, right?
Yeah. Usually seen as like forces of chaos opposing God's will.
So he's saying there's this like battle going on, not a physical battle, but a spiritual one between those who follow the true faith and those who are like leading people astray.
Exactly. It's a pretty radical reinterpretation of a story that's central to both Islam and Judaism.
He's really challenging people to rethink their whole understanding of religious history.
He is, and it goes even further when he starts talking about the Hajj.
The Hajj, you mean the pilgrimage to Mecca?
That's the one. And this is where things get really interesting.
The Hajj, that's like a core part of Islam. To say it's misdirected, wow, that's a big deal.
It is. He's basically saying the Hajj, as it's been practiced for centuries, it's not going to the right place.
So where does he say it should be?
To Baca, Jerusalem.
Wow. Okay, so how does he even begin to back that up? What does he use for evidence?
He digs into the verses about the Hajj, the rituals, the meaning behind it all. He looks at the order of everything, the symbolism, and he says it lines up better with Baca, Jerusalem than with Mecca.
Interesting. So he's really reinterpreting something seen as like utterly fundamental to the faith.
And that's what makes Dr. Walid's work so thought-provoking. He makes you confront what you believe, why you believe it.
It's not about just agreeing or disagreeing. It's about really examining your own understanding.
Exactly. And towards the end of the book, he really emphasizes this idea of like active seeking of knowledge.
He does talk about that a lot, doesn't he?
He wants Muslims to be, and he uses this phrase, hunters of knowledge.
Hunters of knowledge. I like that.
Don't just accept what you're told, question it, dig into the text yourself, never stop learning, basically.
It's like he's saying blind faith isn't enough. You have to engage with your faith, keep searching for a deeper understanding.
Exactly. He even goes so far as to question the direction of the Qibla.
You mean the direction Muslims face when they pray?
That's the one. Right now it's towards Mecca, but he says maybe the true Qibla was originally towards Baca, Jerusalem.
Wow. So he's really challenging some very deeply held beliefs.
He is. And whether you agree with him or not, it's hard to deny that he raises some fascinating questions.
So after this deep dive, where do we even go from here? What's the key takeaway?
For me, it's about never being afraid to ask questions. What if what we know about history, geography, even our own faith, what if it's not the whole story?
What if there's more to discover, more layers to uncover?
Exactly. Those are questions worth asking, even if they make us uncomfortable, even if we don't like the answers.
It reminds me that knowledge isn't about being right or wrong. It's about the journey, the exploration.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Sometimes the most unexpected paths lead to the most amazing discoveries.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe that's the real heart of Dr. Walid's message, to get us thinking, to spark our own journeys of discovery.
To become hunters of knowledge.
Exactly. Well, on that note, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep those minds open and those questions coming.